Diana Walter is the independent candidate for the seat of Narungga in the 19 March state election. How are you, Diana?
I'm very well, thank you, Ricky.
And it was good to see you again at Candidates Forum out at Maitland Golf Club earlier in the week. When it comes to running as an independent, this isn't your first rodeo either. You've run in a previous election?
I did in a federal setting for the Senate back in 2013. So that was a good experience, Ricky. Very good experience. Very different this time round.
And you're seeking to represent a state seat in the one that covers the Yorke Peninsula and a fair bit attached to that further up. Whereabouts do you live yourself?
I live at Moonta Bay and reside within the Copper Coast local government area. And the seat of Narungga underwent, like many seats did, a boundary adjustment, and the new boundary was redefined and reported on back in 2020. So now we take in 5 local government areas, including a portion of Wakefield Regional Council and Port Pirie Regional Council, all of Narungga West, all of Copper Coast and all of Yorke Peninsula. And for your listeners, some 11,500 square kilometres of pretty good earth.
Yeah, sure is, certainly not only from the farming front, but some pretty scenic and coastal locations as well. Why are you seeking to be someone representing this seat as an independent?
I have always had an interest in politics, and in particular what can be achieved if you're not aligned with a particular party. And the seat of Narungga has traditionally, or in the last living memory, has been known to be quite a safe seat. And most people would understand that, generally speaking, seats that are considered to be safe or notionally safe are often, the word I've used quite a lot, taken for granted. And I felt that it was time that the people here in Narungga deserved a representative who could perhaps shift that status quo and make it less safe and attract more funding, more support, but importantly, improve our outlook for the future beyond this next election cycle, but certainly the decades ahead.
It's a fascinating contest in the seat because Fraser Ellis is an independent, but he wasn't elected as an independent, and the Liberals are running a candidate against him. So the seat hasn't previously elected an independent outright. But you made some interesting points about what your position would be as an independent when it came to, for instance, if a ministry was offered to you in the next term of government.
Yeah, I have no interest in that, Ricky. And let me just say that it feels to me right now that I'm actually running against 2 Liberal candidates in the narrative that's been put in the community, in political advertising and a whole range of other things. It certainly feels like both of those other candidates are certainly looking to leverage and garner support from the party. I can remember back when in 2010 when Jeff Brock was elected and the offer of becoming a speaker in Iran government was there, and the office took calls from all over the state, not just within the electorate of Frome, suggesting that if that were to happen, his voice would be effectively gagged. And I've made it very clear from the outset when I started this campaign that I would be supporting the community of Narungga, and I want to spend the majority of my time when I'm not required to be in Adelaide for parliamentary business, actually to be in the electorate, far more important.
All right, well, something that has been a hot issue in the electorate has been this question of the interface between mineral exploration or extraction and farming, and Fraser Ellis did support an inquiry. You mentioned Jeff Brock. He also supported this inquiry into, I guess, changing the rules to put a bit more protection there for farmers. Where do you stand on that interface between farming and mining?
Yeah, it's interesting. I originally, when I looked at the information that was presented to me, I had the view that mining and agriculture in that context probably couldn't coexist. I've been provided with more information. I've received more insights, representation, and understanding the lay of the land, pardon the pun. I believe there is a way that there is a win-win for the community, for the mining exploration company, and for the farming community. And yes, of course, there are people that will be impacted, and one would hope that the modifications to the legislation, and this inquiry and the recommendations, once they're implemented, will actually afford some better protection and compensation for landowners that are directly impacted.
Yeah, well, we spoke with the Chamber of Mines and Energy's CEO, Rebecca Knoll, recently, and she claimed it's only a small minority of farmers opposed to the Rex Minerals mine just south of Ardrossan. What are you picking up in terms of sentiment about that or other mining in the electorate?
Yeah, look, I'm hearing that as well, Ricky, and I'm also hearing that people are saying that they're opposed to mining on one hand, but then they are also saying, but, I need to understand that we need to mine rubble for roads, we need to mine urea for AdBlue and for fertiliser. We need other minerals and other resources for even things like the device I'm talking on now, our mobile phone. So it's a really interesting and a very emotive and can be and has been quite a divisive issue. But I also said that there is an opportunity now that the mine will go ahead if they can raise the capital, and it looks today like they might. But there's a really good opportunity for the community and those that have been opposed to the development to take a different approach and work with the community, with the company, to ensure that all the regulations that are put in place are actually adhered to, they're complied with. If you have an open mind, I think there can be a win-win. And even Mr. Ellis said, the mine will likely go ahead, and some of the conditions of them having that licence to operate were to include the development or building of a pipeline and road infrastructure. And yes, it will benefit the mine, but it will also benefit the wider community. But what people are saying, Ricky, is that not everyone can go back to the farm to work if the farms are getting bigger and the machinery is bigger and less human resources are needed. They're looking for jobs and opportunities for their children. And of course, I've always been one to say, without our environment, there is no economy. So I'm just imploring people to find a way to shift their thinking and see if we can have a win-win for this particular development.
All right. Well, just some of the demand, as Rebecca Knoll from the Chamber of Mines and Energy told us earlier in the week, is not only the copper that you mentioned for telephony, but also for battery and rare earths that are needed for battery technology with the move into renewable energy. There was a few comments raised about carbon and its accounting with farming. How do you see farming's interface with the future treatment when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions?
Yeah, look, probably not the right person to ask in terms of having a really deep understanding from a scientific perspective and look at the different governments that have tried to implement carbon credits and other trading schemes. But there are ways that farmers are already undertaking their enterprise differently and can reap the benefits of a carbon credit system. So always open education, Ricky, so I look forward to learn more about the opportunities there for sure.
Well, I guess you made some comments at the forum about climate change. Are you picking up a general hostility to carbon trading and climate change adjustment from farmers, or are you getting a mixed picture?
It's mixed, and I think it's based on people's their understanding, their values. But when we do care for our environment, we certainly reap a healthier economy. And we do live in a changing climate. I do believe in climate change. And you think about the ecosystems that exist in Narungga, they exist currently in parallel with agricultural production. We've got the magnificent Tamana Bangara project. It's a really good example of an appetite for preservation of an environment and a habitat in parallel to farming going on around it. So there is some action that we can take, but it's a community's appetite to work with a government that has a view that climate change is real and that we need to continue to step up the action that we're taking already.
Well, I'll just sort of finish on the same way we finished at the election forum, give you an opportunity to just quickly sum up why people should vote for you as the candidate for Narungga.
I said on the night, Ricky, that I'm not asking people to change their values as such, but rethink about how their values are being employed by political parties. I'm asking people in Narungga to lend me their vote, change their vote this time, and give me an opportunity to see how we can do things differently from a true independence perspective. And I'm heartened by the support I'm getting already. I jokingly said to someone else the other day that someone must have a big tin of CRC or WD-40 because there's quite a few rusted on people that are shifting across, and it couldn't be more encouraging.
That's a great analogy, the WD-40 shifting people off of the rust. All right, well, thank you very much for your time, Diana. Appreciate it, and all the best on the 19th of March.
Thank you, Ricky.